Because that contradicts the official White House account. Sarah Huckabee Sanders said that Comey was fired because of the letter that you heard Lester Holt kind of talking about there. We're also hearing from now former FBI Director James Comey for the first time since his firing. Comey wrote a letter to his former colleagues at the Bureau in which he directly addressed his dismissal.
And in that letter, he said, "I'm not going to spend time on the decision or the way it was executed. I hope you won't either. It is done, and I will be fine." He goes on to say, "My hope is that you will continue to live our values and the mission of protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution." And joining us now from the Washington Post is Aaron Blake. Aaron, the White House, Comey says that Comey's firing was over how he handled Clinton's email, the Clinton email scandal, and that it came at the recommendation of the Deputy Attorney General. But you wrote today that the White House explanations of Comey's firing are crumbling before our very eyes.
Well,
and that's
we just
exactly
heard the president contradict himself almost over that letter.
Yep. So
right, we just saw it crumble even more there in the interview that the president gave. That's a complete and utter opposite sign from we've been getting from the White House this entire week. Sean Spicer said on Tuesday night that the president hadn't even known that the FBI or the Justice Department was looking into this until he saw the memo on Tuesday. He said that it was Rosenstein's decision at first and that the president basically just signed off on it. We have gotten two polar opposite indications of exactly how this came to be. I imagine that the one we're hearing from the president is actually closer to the truth, given that it seems to square with everything we're seeing here. But the fact is that the White House sold this as a completely different situation just a couple days ago.
Meanwhile, Aaron, the Washington Post reported that Rod Rosenstein threatened this week to resign as well as this all unfolded. We were talking about that a short time ago, saying that he did not like that his memo may be the reason that this firing was invoked. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it sounded a little contradictory listening to the senators after that intel meeting.
Yeah, it seems like, you know, I think Rosenstein got a lot of heat after this stuff came out because the White House did point the finger at him as being the guy who really got the ball rolling on this. I think that what's important here is that if you look at the memo that he wrote, it doesn't actually advocate for the firing of James Comey. It says that he has undermined trust in the law, among the law enforcement community. It does not say he should be fired for that. So the idea that Rosenstein had ever actually made that recommendation was kind of far-fetched. Yet the White House came out with the version of events that this was basically his decision that Trump only signed off on. I think the reason they wanted to do that is because it made it look like this wasn't about the Russia investigation. This wasn't about stuff that had happened in recent weeks with Comey making the announcement that the investigation was looking into the Trump campaign. But that quickly fell apart, and so now we're seeing the White House offer a totally different narrative.
And Aaron, the FBI, we know, is not supposed to be political. There's supposed to be the separation between the White House and the FBI. So where do you see this political battle heading now as they look into this?
Well, the big question now, I think, is going to be who is the replacement FBI director. Does Trump try to get somebody who is allied with him, somebody who would be viewed as maybe a little bit more sympathetic to him? I think that'd be a very difficult political sell right now. I think even Republicans in the Senate would be reluctant to give him somebody who looked like he was even a little bit close to President Trump. It's also a 10-year term, as you guys were talking about, so this is a very significant position to appoint somebody to, and I imagine that there will be a very healthy debate about exactly who that person is going to be.
I think if you boil all this down, the public wants to hear more information about the investigation into Russia and the possible ties into our presidential election. The Senate Intelligence Committee subpoenaed former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn for documents related to that investigation. Do you think we're going to hear more information from him on this investigation?
Well, this is the option that they have on the table as Senate investigators to subpoena people who don't want to talk to them. We haven't seen how Flynn and his lawyers are going to respond to this, whether he's going to be called in front of the committee.